Okay. All right. We are live in living color. Welcome to our working hours call, Working Girls, Working Girls call at 8 p.m. on a Monday. This is normally when we have our team call, so we thought we should just invite you all into our story and our how we got here and why we got here and why Ellie it really stands against the grains of all others out there. So myself, Angie, and Rachel are going to carry this call. And if you have any questions at any time, just pop them in the chat, and we'll be sure to get to them. But then if there's something like after either of our, we're going to kind of share our own stories. And then if there's something you want to know about one of us or something that happened or whatever, just pipe in. I don't think any of us would mind. So we will try to keep this short and sweet, even though we're all very long-winded. Just Rachel, actually, let's be real.
I am not.
Rachel. Um, but just in case, I know it's late here over. It's late over here on the East Coast, 8 o'clock. It's late for me. I'm ready. I'm counting down the minutes here, folks. Okay, Rachel, do you want to start? Angie, which one? Want me to go first? Which?
I'll
I
go
can
first.
start. Or
Sure.
Angie's okay. Angie's going to go first.
Let me go first because it's hard to follow up Kim and Rachel. Let's be honest.
Take us away.
Yeah. So my name is Angie Melton. I am 54 years old, mom of 4 adult children. Um, I also am a office manager for a dental office. I've been in dentistry for 30 years, but ever since I can remember, I have been into health and wellness. Love it. But about 2 years ago, I hit a brick wall. I was doing all the things, eating right, working out, walking, tracking all of that stuff, and still felt like total crap. Let's be honest. Um, but knew in the back of my mind that, well, I didn't know this, but I thought this, that using any sort of GLP-1 or peptide was cheating. I had a lot of friends that took it, and I was just like, that's completely cheating. Why are they doing that? That's just, on and on. Well, then I went down the rabbit hole of peptides and realized that that is not the case at all. These peptides have literally changed my life in the past. I started last May, so what is that, 10 months ago, 9 months ago? Literally have changed my life. I stack 4 different peptides. I take tirzepatide. I use glutathione, which is they call it the master antioxidant for the body. It's like a detox. NAD plus for energy, and then I use tesamorelin and ipamorelin to enhance my workouts, which has been an amazing addition to my life. Um, what else do you want me to talk about? Um,
Maybe just like maybe some of the aside from like, but I feel like you were having like direct symptoms postmenopausal. Like what are some of the things that it did for you in that season and kind of got you out of? Because like Angie, Rachel, and I kind of all came from a prior company together where we really thought we were fueling our bodies, and we were doing all the right things. And I wouldn't even say from the outside perspective, we really felt like we were thriving. I would even go out on a limb and say we all felt fantastic. Um, but there was an underlying piece to it that I think no one really wanted to talk about because it felt vain, it felt stuck, it felt like I work out really hard, which you did, which you do, and I'm not seeing any muscle. Like I see nothing. And it's like, am I even doing am I even getting the results for all the hard work that I put in?
right. So I don't know if any of you are in the midst of menopause, but menopause is a real downer. I was inflamed. My body, I was honestly got to where I was just depressed. I was doing all the things. I'll go as far as I didn't even want to be naked in front of my husband. And that is, and here's the deal. We all know our husbands don't care what we look like. But I was very insecure, even though I was doing all the things, and I was just depressed. And my husband's like, "We got to find something for you because," and it wasn't about like our relationship. I mean, it was, but he was more concerned about my well-being because I was depressed. Um, and finding these peptides literally, you guys changed my life. My inflammation came down. I had more energy. I started to see my waistline again. Like menopause midsection is a thing. Like doing all the things and you can't get rid of it. It is a thing. Um, I started to see my waistline again. I started to see just my smile again. When I looked in the mirror, I was liking that girl that I saw, and I knew that I was never going to go back to where I was. And so when I say these peptides have literally changed my life, they have, and not only my life, but my husband's life. Like we're in this together, and he also lost 75 pounds
That's amazing.
alongside me. We both started together. So this is a journey that I don't foresee us ever not being on,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Yeah.
Maybe not necessarily GLP-1, but all the other stuff that Ellie offers.
Mhm.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's an amazing story, Angie.
Really is.
Um, so I'll jump in from here. So my name is Rachel. I am 49 and I am a dietitian, and I've been in this industry for, um, almost 25 years. I mean, from fitness to nutrition to dietetics, and working with multiple fitness companies online, in person, like the whole gamut. Um, so I've seen it all, and I've seen it all, and I had never experienced anything hard or rough for myself. It's like, oh, I want to lose 5 pounds before a vacation. Okay. You kind of blink and snap your fingers and it happens. And I wasn't necessarily experiencing the downside of weight. It was inflammation, and inflammation was causing just unwanted weight. So when we talk about weight gain, there's two different types of things, and we can get into this clinically, like what is weight gain and then what is inflammation. And now all I see on people, to be honest, is inflammation. I'm like, that's not weight. You are inflamed. Your face is puffy, your body is puffy, you are inflamed, you have bloating, and it is causing like a cytokine storm inside of your cellular structure, and we need to get control of that. And for a long time, just to let you know too, GLPs and peptides have been around for decades and decades and decades, but only the elite, only people that had a lot of money had access to them. And so what has happened recently in the past half decade and last 5 years, really since the prescription drugs have come out. I mean, insulin, for those of you guys who don't know, insulin is a peptide. So it's like these things started to leak out, and then it kind of became like an unboxing of sorts. And people were like, oh, well, what's this? Oh, other people have been doing this. Oh, other people have been doing, NAD therapy and have been doing peptide therapy and going into cryo clinics and going into med spas and getting doused with all these amazing peptides. And we're just now finding out about it. So it kind of opened up a Pandora's box. And I was going through, I had come back, I went with our former company to the Dominican Republic. I had a horrible inflammatory response. Just let you know, I have PCOS and hypothyroidism. So people tell you only gain weight, you cannot lose weight when you have PCOS and hypothyroidism. That is a big crock of bleep, because I've had it since I was 18, and it's just managing your diet and making sure that your diet and you are moving your body and not allowing yourself to take a plethora of prescription drugs that are only going to band-aid the symptom and not actually fix or cure or help you actually push forward in your life. It's a whole nother story about sick care, not health care. But I was like, what the heck is going on? I posted today for the first time about my Raynaud's. I have, and Lisa and I have talked about this in the past, and we talked about it just this weekend, that for the longest time, probably like 5 years, in my early 40s, I started getting this thing called Raynaud's, and it would just happen to my fingertips. It was really small. It was quickly, it would come and go. And then I was like, gosh, that's so weird. It would happen in Costco. I swore I was allergic to Costco. I used to tell my husband, I can't go to Costco because my fingers turn white and I'm allergic. There's something in the cleaning that they do in Costco. I can't go in there. I didn't know what it was. And then I had went to the Dominican Republic. I had a major inflammatory response to something. I don't know what it was, but it was awful. And I came home 8 pounds heavier, not of weight, of inflammatory. Something was happening inflammatory. My tissue had become severely inflamed. I had went to the doctor. I said, I want a full blood test done, and I want you to check my hormones. My hormones were that of a 28-year-old. Unfortunately, I'm nowhere near menopause or even perimenopause, which was really weird. But there was not that. It was not anything that, they could actually put a finger on, except for they saw that I tested positive for this. It's called an ANA blood test, and that shows that you have markers for inflammatory response, MS, lupus, different types of underlying autoimmune diseases. And I tested positive for that. It was positive. It was speckled. That means it was laying dormant in my body, or I had just come off an inflammatory response. So I was like, okay, I know what these markers mean. So I started digging deep. I was watching Kim, and I was like, I don't really need a GLP, but I wonder what else they have. And I was like, I'm going to try NAD plus, and I'm going to do GHKCU. And GHKCU and NAD plus were my first two, and I was blown away. And just to let you know, I've never cycled off of GHKCU. Maybe like 2 or 3 months or 2 or 3 weeks in July, just because I thought I was supposed to cycle off, and then I just came right back on. Not only has it fixed my skin, but it's helped with my cellular recovery, cellular repair. I have blood test markers now that will show how much my blood markers have improved and pushed me away from anything that's inflammatory or an inflammatory response. Peptides go in and act as messengers for your body. They literally tell your body what to do. I want you guys to think of it like, when it docks onto a cell. So we all have all these multiple cells in our body. And when we talk about cellular recovery and cellular repair and cellular depletion, when we talk about upping that cellular charge, we're talking about having those amino acids that we are putting in with peptides, because that's what amino acids or peptides are, and they're amino acids. They come in and they dock onto that cell. They feed that cell what that cell needs to completion. And then it docks off that cell and goes to the next, and to the next, and to the next. That's how you get cellular recovery. That's how you do cellular repair. And when you have enough of those peptides working in your body, and they're all working congruently with each other, you start feeling amazing. Your ATP, your body's energy source, kicks up into overdrive, and it balances everything out. So all of a sudden, you're starting to feel like lights are turning on inside of your head that have been off for years. Your mitochondria, base of your skull, it starts to have not just being fed, but your brain is so alert and you're so aware that you feel like you can take on the world. And that is literally how this works. How does it work with inflammation? Whether you're doing a GLP, whether you're doing GHKCU, whether you're doing NAD+, which, by the way, NAD+ is not a peptide. It gets pulled into the peptide category, but it's really a coenzyme. So when you are working with any of those that are working in the cellular space, it's really, like I said, upping that cellular charge, increasing the cellular output so that you can do more. And I started down this journey, and I was like a little nerd. Where's my glasses? Literally, this was me every single night, you guys. I was like, I want to learn more. I'm like this. I was the nerd of all nerds because I kind of like these glasses. They kind of give me that little librarian look. But I was all about learning what it is and how it is and how could I help people, because now that I know, when you know better, you do better. So I knew now, and the veil was off, and I was off. And once I called Kim and I was like, I'm in. I can't unknow what I know now, and I can't unfeel, and I want everyone to feel this way. So you're in a good space, ladies and gentlemen. This is not just, we are just scratching the surface. We are just scratching the surface because now we know. Now we know what to do. Now we know how to take charge. And once you have that power in your hands, such a yummy gift.
Well, and I think the biggest piece of it is knowing, like
Mm.
everyone just lumps everything into GLP. Oh, you sell Ozempic. No, like it is so much more than a GLP. I feel like GLP is like
No.
this little, it's the beginning, it's the like introduction, but there is so much more that can happen within your body. And it might be the thing that kind of kickstarts you, but it's not going to be the thing you stick with. And that's, everybody's biggest fear is, am I going to be on this for life? You might not be, or you're probably not going to be on a GLP-1 for life, but you're going to find something that you might be, and that is only going to help you live a longer life. And I think that that's the biggest piece, is that we're not all, it's not a get skinny drug and then like, I don't know, get off and bring it all back. Like, my story, very similar. I'm mom of four. Mine are younger. I have 12, 11, 9, and 7. But I've been in this industry since I was 19. I've been coaching fitness since I was in college, and I actually never was in shape. I shouldn't say that. I was always in shape, but I never looked like I was in shape. I was always hiding, and Rachel nailed it. It's not fat, it's inflammation. Now, did I have body fat to lose? 100%. There was definitely some weight that was hiding, or some fat that was hiding on top of my muscles that were not allowing me to physically see what I was doing was working. And for me personally, I started with the NAD. That was like what led me to find Ellie. So I was one of those people on TikTok learning about NAD and was like, how do I get my hands on this? And every single thing you find is like, this is the real deal. No, this is the real deal. And it was all capsules. And we all know that capsules are great, but the absorption is I mean, you could take a capsule from Amazon, you could take a capsule. If you don't know the validity of where that capsule comes from, the likelihood of it being even absorbed into your body is like nothing. So and then you would find like, if it doesn't have this sticker, then it's not. And I was like, this is crazy. So then I went down okay, so you can get infusions. And those are $1,500. Like, that's not in my budget. Like, you can just imagine, hey, James, I'm going to go for an infusion for NAD, which is why, you talk to like a Cameron Diaz or a Reese Witherspoon or all these actresses that have been aging backwards. It's because this is what Hollywood has been doing, because they have the resources and the money. And so it really started there. NAD was kind of how I found Ellie. And at the very same time, as someone, I've coached so many women in my life, and I've seen them to success, or I've seen them to success and then failure, and then they go back, and now they're back to where they started. And it was very personal. It was my sister-in-law, who was very overweight and was probably her heaviest she'd ever been. And she was looking at Ozempic. And I just, in my brain, I'm like, I just don't think you should get on Ozempic. I really don't think that that's what you should do. And I said, let me do some research and I'll get back to you. And I came back to her with Ellie, and I said, and we'll get into this, but one of the biggest things was, I think the name brand drug is full of things that are going to hurt you, and they're not going to work with you. And if I can help control what your diet looks like, what your exercise looks like, the foundation for you, but then together we add in this GLP-1, I really think that we can see, well, she's now down 50 pounds, and she was shopping today online to go for this work trip, and people are getting their lives back, and they're not experiencing these wild side effects that so many people are fear mongering out there. It's so far from that. The reason people are having those experiences and some of these side effects have more to do with the fact that it's a very strong dose from a doctor who doesn't care about your foundation. Period. Here's your drug. Have a nice day. Right? They're not going to walk beside you. Very similar to buying a research grade one. I'm not saying that they're all wrong. I'm not saying that they're not as I wouldn't say they're probably as potent as you're going to get from Ellie, but I think I just went out of there. I'll come back. But you're going to experience such a better result with what Ellie has to offer. And so for me, it was either I sit back and I watch all my clients get on them anyway, or I get on the right side of learning and I become a learner of life and I figure out how to help my people. And in the process, I help myself. And I also have lost now 15 pounds. I've down probably 7-8% body fat, and I feel better than I've ever felt in my life. I'm running faster than I ever have. I'm lifting heavier than I ever have. I feel like I have more energy than I don't even have anything like just bring on the projects, bring on the things because I've got the energy to handle it. And I just want everyone to feel that great. Everyone deserves to feel that great. And so I think that Ellie really does offer the best overall option when it comes to getting your peptides and what it is that you need. And, like Rachel said, we're just scratching the surface, and Angie's going to touch on this in a little bit, and like what is to come in this company is, I actually think, will be bigger than anything we've even ever done. So, Rachel, if you want to kind of share like what kind of just, I mean, you kind of touched already, but a little bit more of like maybe the different peptides we offer, and I don't know, whatever, just kind of more about the education behind.
Yeah. So first I want to kind of jump on, Kim said something really important about Ozempic, Mounjaro, Wegovy, and Zepbound. So as a dietitian and someone who has seen those come in and out, I was working at UCLA doing like some contract work for them. A year and a half, 2 years ago, I was the one who was online who was screaming, stop taking Ozempic. You guys don't understand. You have Ozempic face. You are losing your muscle and your skin is going to fall off your body. The reason for that is that inside of those pens, which are not, you're not able to dose them, they come preloaded. Inside of those pens are stabilizers because they sit on shelves inside the pharmacy for God knows how long. There are stabilizers, and let me remind you, it is a drug. Okay, it's a drug. It's a drug for a reason. They want you to come back and buy the drug. It's why the insurance companies they're in bed with the providers, because you have to have a certain BMI. You drop your BMI gets too low, your insurance stops covering it. Then you got to gain the weight in order to get the drug. And you need to have the drug because the drug has a stabilizer and it makes your body so dependent. It is not the peptide that is the problem. The peptide is the natural part of it. It's the other 4 ingredients, and I can't tell you them off the top of my head because they're these big, long names, kind of like, bad ingredients that are on the back of the box of cereal that you're eating or the back of the, whatever store-bought processed crap, those big, long names. It's the same thing with your drugs. When you see those big, long names, and you know that there's something in there that you shouldn't be doing. And that has been the problem. Ozempic and I think Mounjaro are semaglutide, Zepbound, and Wegovy are trizepatide. Those are the peptides that are in there, GLP and GIP. The rest of the crap that's inside of those pens is what is causing the problems and what's causing the massive side effects. So do not get it confused. The peptides are fine. That's what we offer. The drugs are bad. They'll mess you up. Okay? Okay. So, peptides are one of those things that, like we talked about, they're messengers. They're going to go in and tell your body exactly what you need to do. So we have peptides for a plethora of different things. BPC 157 and TB 500, for example, are going to go in and help to strengthen, joints, ligaments, tendon repairs. It's excellent for surgeries, for post-surgery. You have a rotator cuff, you have an old surgery, maybe a hip replacement, knee replacement, and it's been a long time, and now you're just noticing that you're starting to get creaky knees when you go up and down the stairs. It's not because, it could be because of lack of use, but it's also because your joints have cartilage that's in between them and collagen too. And so by taking something BPC 157, just to kind of keep them separate, they are a stack. It's known as like the Wolverine stack. And they do come together, but the BPC 157 is really what focuses on the joint repair, the ligament, and the tissue. The TB 500 works congruently to help with the gut and the inflammation that comes from the gut. Because what people don't understand is that a lot of our inflammatory response comes from just an unhealthy gut. And then that seeps out into our bloodstream. And when that seeps out into your bloodstream, then you're dealing with that cytokine storm that I was telling you about that causes that inflammatory response. And inflammation, my friends, is 80 to 85% of disease. If we get rid of inflammation, we get rid of disease. And we're talking all disease, cancer included. Cancer comes from the inflammatory response that's happening inside the body, and our cells don't have any place to go. And so, because we all have cancer cells inside of our body, we all do. It's whether or not our body can mediate and can, our immune system can flush. So BPC 157, TB 500 are fantastic for joint recovery, repair, gut health, gut restoration. Amazing. Glutathione. I just started glutathione because I had a surgery and I went through massive, I ended up having an infection. I had so many antibiotics running through my system. Glutathione is an immune system regulator. It helps to flush and first it helps to support the your liver. Your liver is where all your toxins are being flushed in and out from. So when you don't have good liver vitality, it can slow down your body's ability to flush fat through its system. So fat gets stored in the liver, gets stored in the cells, gets stored in our body and in our bloodstream. And that can cause visceral fat, can cause, again, more inflammation and bloating. It can cause just a sluggish system and a sluggish metabolic system. And that's where we get into metabolic fatigue. And then let's switch to Tessa and ipamorelin. Go on and on and on. Like that little energizer buddy that can. Tessamorelin and ipamorelin I love so much for multiple reasons. Tessamorelin is known for and been studied for helping to reduce visceral fat. Visceral fat is the fat that's in our gut, in along our bra strap area. This stuff right here that we don't like, and that little stuff that's up here on our back behind our jeans. And we're like, what the heck is this? Like, I'm not hungry for a muffin, so why is it on my back? That's visceral fat, my friends. So you want to try to reduce the visceral fat because that visceral fat, again, causes inflammation. It causes your body to slow down. It causes your cells to cluster. It can cause, unwanted cellulite because cellulite is a lot of times not necessarily fat. For some people, it is. And when we talk about cellulite, there's a variety of different cellulite. There's that genetic cellulite that you see on people that and your heart just goes, oh, because that that's not their fault. It's just their body's reaction and inflammatory response to reaction to what is inside of their blood. Sometimes it can be mediated and sometimes it can't. Tessamorelin helps to mediate that. And ipamorelin, again, it's a supporter. So it goes and supports the gut, again, but also helps with adding in that dopamine recovery, that serotonin recovery, and helps with good deep sleep. And the reason why you need good deep sleep is that's when your body repairs. If you're only getting a few hours of, and we're not talking about sleep and falling asleep on the couch during a movie, which is what I do pretty much every night. That's not deep sleep. We're talking about that deep REM where your body is at rest and your muscles and your joints and your body and your organs are like, peace out, sis. I am resting so I can be the best for you tomorrow. That's what we're talking about. And that's where ipamorelin comes in and helps you with that. I touched base on GHKCU a little bit earlier. Fantastic. Love it. You'll love it. NAD, touch base on that as well. I do want to touch base a little bit on the GLPs a little bit deeper because I do think that there's so much here to unpack when we talk about the GLPs. And I first want to say there's no shame. Like, we need to stop with the shame game because I know, like I told you when I was up there preaching about Ozempic and Mounjaro and just still just puts all kinds of spokes in my way. But the reason why was because of how it affects people. But there was one specific time when before I became a partner and I was like, I don't know if I really want to do this. And I don't know if I want to partner my dietetic practice yet. I really love what I'm doing, what it's doing for me, but I don't know if I'm ready. I was still doing contract work with UCLA and there was a client that had come in and she sat down in my office and we were talking, it was a telehealth. And she looked at me with these big brown eyes and she was 45. She had about a good 50 pounds, maybe more, to lose. She had all sorts of issues going on. Her doctor told her if she didn't lose the weight, that she was a diabetic and it was going to go down a pretty gnarly road for her. And I was like, listen, all we have to do is get you you got to follow the diet, you got to follow the meal plan, we got to move your body. And she looks at me and tears, and she wasn't bawling, but tears were just coming down her face. And she looks at me and she's like, Rachel, she's like, I have tried. I have tried everything. I have done everything. She's like, I follow the meal plans that you give me. And she's like, they're fantastic. And she's like, and I try to move, but I'm so freaking exhausted. She has 3 kids. All of them were under the age, I mean, she's 15 and younger. And her job was stressful. Her marriage was suffering. I mean, the whole thing. And she's like, and I'm just trying to survive. She's like, I'm going to do Ozempic. I'm like, oh no, you're not. She's like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I said, give me a minute. Let me help you. Let me put something together. And that's when I was like, okay, it's time. Because who was I, at 48, 49 years old, always been pretty healthy and pretty active. Who was I to tell somebody in their 40s, in their 30s, in their 50s, just follow a meal plan and you'll lose the weight. When I know how hard it is for me to lose 5-10 pounds if I really want to, it's hard. It's not easy. So this person has 45. How many people have 45, 50 pounds in front of them that they have to lose? And they're looking at you going, excuse me, but they're like, all the bleep, 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 bleep up. Like, what are you talking about? I'm trying over here. Who was I to say, no, do more? All you have to do is do more. No, they don't have to do more. They need help. And we have the help to give them. So who was I to tell them no? There's no shame in what we do. There's just shame in that there's not enough education. There's just shame that there's not enough support. There's just shame that people are following Insta Bros and all these TikTok people and getting misinformation that is misleading them to make bad decisions. That's where the shame comes in. But there's no shame in elevating your voice. There's no shame in saying, you know what, I'm going to follow this. I'm going to take the lead on this. And I'm going to do this because I know that this is going to be so impactful for me and it's going to help me so much. There's no shame in that. Not at all.
Boom. No, there isn't. And I think, it's like, it's so interesting because we're in this time. Am I on mute? No. Where I feel like we tell everybody, you can do anything. But then the minute they do something that's right for their body, we're so quick to judge them. And I'm still trying to figure out, this is something I kind of wrestle with a lot, is what makes people so angry when I can see that in their life, they would probably benefit from a certain peptide as well, or some sort of certain plan. And I think it's just because you're so set in your way. Cause I was just like, Rachel, like, look at me, I did all this naturally. And it's like, I really didn't. I mean, if you saw me at, 4 p.m., I was 6 months pregnant and with a huge bloated stomach and wondering what on earth I did all day because I thought I ate right and I thought I worked out right. And yet somehow I was still feeling all the things. And so, yeah, no judgment, no shame. Actually, I was telling a girlfriend who, this is very interesting, just very personal story. I don't know, I'm going to share it, but a lot of judgment, but she came back around and she just stopped speaking to me because of this choice. And she came back around recently and was very apologetic and really wanted to, make amends. And I, of course, was like, oh yeah, bygones be bygones. But one of the things that I told her, I said, you have no idea, Ellie, not only just, yes, physically my own health, but lots of other people, but it also helped me remove this layer of like judging other people from a space that I have no business judging them. And I know that seems so strange. Like it's so much more than, it's such a big concept, but it's like and I mean in everything. Like I feel like it gave me this like freedom to just see people in the hurt that they're in, whether it's and that could explode into lots of different things, their marriages, their situations, their financials, what all. But because you start to see people through the lens of like everybody's business is there, it's their story, it's their journey, it's what works for them. And if this could be that thing and they could get out of the 10 years of depression because that's been like laying underneath their body, gosh, everyone deserves that. Everyone deserves that. And so the more that we can tell, which I think, I can speak for all of us that are on this call or anyone who invited you, one of the biggest things, that why we chose Ellie and what makes it so different is, first of all, we are led by a fearless leader who has been hurt, who has been, in the depths herself, who came from a place of watching a lot of people die. She was in the end of life of people's. That's what hurt. She's a biochemist. She's brilliant. She was very deeply hurt by an ex-husband. And she built this business out of like the pain and suffering she watched all these people at the end of life, because now she sees that so many different things that we can put in our bodies help with dementia, help with Alzheimer's, help with autoimmunes, help with cancer markers. And so she was like, if I can stop focusing on the people in the end of life and maybe start getting into like the 30s and 40s and 50s, maybe so many people won't be suffering like I'm watching all these people suffer. And so she created Ellie, and it's really truly out of an elephant. When elephants have someone hurt in their pack, they march around it. That's if you've ever seen a herd of elephants and one of them is dying or they're giving birth or whatever, they march around their person, and they protect them. And that's really what Ellie was stemmed out of. And so just the heart behind the company was something that I was all like, I just, yeah, I'm on board. Let's go, So I think that the integrity and the education behind it was so wildly different. It's not trend driven. It's not about quick fixes. I will tell you that every single day she's like, she gets hit up and it's like, why can't we have this peptide? Why can't we do this? Why can't we do that? And she's very careful to lead slowly, because she's very compulsive, and she wants to do the things because she wants to serve her people, but she's more protective, ensuring that it's built about provided led care, doctors, personalization, and helping women actually understand what's happening in their bodies. It's not a one size fits all approach, which I feel like is exactly what I came from for the last 11 years. Everything is personalized, and there's a big emphasis on safety, quality, and long-term health, not just short-term results. And so beyond that, there's real sense of community and support, which I think is so huge. Women aren't just handed something and sent on their way. We educate, we support through process. I cannot tell you, I feel like this company is built on women who have been there and have now learned the trenches and are open to sharing. There's nothing, it's not like you're going to start a business and be like, what do I do now? No, there's a step process. There's a video. There's everything is shared. There's so much education. If someone wanted to spend every single day on a call, they could. That's not my jam, but you could do that. If you wanted to, you could be educated by a doctor. Then you could be educated by a practitioner in this field or in this field. And it's just the because this space is now no longer just a bunch of women on influencers online, it's practitioners, it's dentist office, it's med spas, it's gym owners, it's beauty salons. They are bringing this into their business because there's no liability. They don't carry the liability, they don't carry the product, they don't carry the insurance, and they can help someone in all 50 states, which most doctors cannot do. They can only practice in their state. So I feel like this business is full of just like wildly intelligent people who are seeing the need. They know it's not going anywhere. And so they're joining forces with what Ellie has already created. And so it made us all, I think, feel so confident in aligning with it, because it truly feels like we're helping women feel better, stronger, and more empowered in, their health decisions.
Agreed.
So, and I think that just to touch on the compensation plan, because I know we invited you into the business piece of this, it's really structured in a way that rewards real impact, not just quick fixes, not just quick wins. It's not like hit a rank and make some money and now like you fall off. Like everything is created for you just to keep earning and going up. So we're not chasing numbers or hype. We're building something sustainable while genuinely helping people. And I think it allows women to create income by educating, supporting, and building community, which feels very aligned with our mission. And of course, there's so much room for growth. There's leverage there. It's designed so that you can help more people. Your income reflects that. And you honestly just it feels fair and very purpose driven. So not very transactional. That I will say that's the one thing. And I actually just got off the phone with a girl right before this call. And she said, I feel like I just bought something off Instagram, and I don't even know what it is, and I'm supposed to reconstitute it and put all these things in it, and I'm like, I really think you should probably just stop doing what you're doing, because this should be something that you walk along somebody and they're encouraging you, and that's the kind of team we're building. We are not a transactional team, we're a heart driven team. So and then, Ange, if you just kind of want to share where we're headed, maybe a little sneak peek about the hormones to come, and we'll let you on your way.
I mean, the biggest thing I feel like people want to feel good, right? People want to have energy. They want to have metabolic health. They want to be strong, not skinny. I know for me at 54, I want to be strong and I want to be able to play with my grandbabies when they come around. Sorry, my dog decided to come over here. Come here. I want to have a future of health. And I think that with peptides, it's not like a one size fits all. It's like there's so many different options for different people in their lives. And I think that the biggest thing is, it's not it's not magic. And it's not like you were saying, Kim, it's not a quick fix. It's not magic. You need the support throughout your life, and whatever you to help your health. I think that peptides are just the way. That's just the way it's going to be because, I mean, they've been proven, right? In the
Right.
past. I know I never heard about peptides, like actual peptides, like other than GLP-1 until I started with Ellie. And then, like Rachel was saying, you go down that rabbit hole and you learn all the different health benefits that you get from so many of them. So I just feel like they're just going to be the way that, that everybody
Well, and even just Rachel, like when she had
needs it.
surgery and the doctor was like, "Hey, I'd love to put you on BPC 157," and she was like, "Really?" Like, you're going to see this being the way forward.
For
It's no
sure.
longer, people are going to realize, wow, I don't need to take this really hard blood pressure medicine that knocks all these, it gives me all these other side effects.
Yep.
I'm going to start treating, like, if you know dementia is in your family, I'm going to start taking this that's going to keep my biomarkers down so that I can live a longer life. Yes, I was thinking about your son too, Lisa. Like, I remember you were saying that the doctor right away was like, let's get him on BPC 157. Go ahead and speak into that too if you want.
I was gonna say they not only did he say absolutely, we started a week post-op, but it was when we went on that 3rd month checkup, he hadn't seen him. It was like, the longer that you go into recovery, you're not doing weekly visits anymore. So it'd been like a month and he walked in. I wish I would have had it on camera. He walked in and he was like, whoa, he goes, you are almost symmetrical, meaning because he had 3 months without being able to move it. So he was thinking he was going to, had to have the atrophy, which internally he was weaker, but visually, because he was on it, he didn't have as much muscle loss.
Mhm.
And he was healing faster. He was able to, he only did like 4 weeks of their physical therapy because he was doing it on his own here at the house. So he was like Superman. And mind you, he's 19, but at the same time, that a shoulder surgery like that of that caliber to come back instead of being out for 9 months, he was back in 4.5. So he was
Well, and imagine, because I feel like that's such a pivotal age, like that could have taken him out.
absolutely,
He could have not recovered as fast, and then he doesn't get back in the sport. And like, I feel like that's like how a lot of athletes end up going when they're in their teens, even
yeah.
as a young adult, because then they lose what they've always known.
Well, they
Um,
know too, which was that concern. He said most athletes, if they're athletes, they'll push so fast and too fast before their body's ready. But they
yeah.
were putting him through a series of tests, and he's like, it is literally like you did. I mean, you didn't have surgery. Obviously, it won't be perfect, but it was so minuscule. So I thought that was amazing for somebody to have that option, especially someone that young that's like, oh my gosh, this he thinks it's his future, but you know what I mean. But as us as we age too, it literally cuts that healing time and just being able to wake up without, having to do
Mhm.
calisthenics in the morning just to brush your teeth, like the
So
pains in the joint. So it's just, I think that's one of my favorite ones.
my friend, a good friend of mine, had, it wasn't even just sciatic, it was compression on her cervical spine. And it was in her lower quadrants, where her butt bone and her cervical spine connect. The compression was so bad, like all of her doctors were like, you need to have surgery. Like, we can't keep giving you a cortisone shot. You need to have surgery. And she was praying so hard. She did not want to have surgery. And she was just like, Rachel, what do I do? Do you have anything? This was before I started BPC 157. Her husband had said to her, I was praying, and he's like, I don't know. He's like, I came across this peptide thing. He's like, doesn't Rachel do peptides? Do they have BPC 157? Because he's like, I was praying for you and like researching, and I found that there's this peptide. Ask her if they have it. So she reached out to me and she was like, what about this peptide? And I was so new at Ellie. It was like in June. I joined in May, and I was like, well, yeah, we have BPC 137. Again, forcing me into having to learn about it. What is it? How is it going to help? What's it going to support? It's one of my best friends. And I was like, here's what it does. I'm not, she's like, I take NAD for my naturopath, so I'll get NAD from you, but I'm going to try BPC 157 while I finish out my NAD from my naturopath. And I'll never forget the text message that I got from her because I was in the bathroom, and I picked up my phone and I looked down, and it was a voice message, and she was crying. And she was like, Rachel, this is an answer to my prayers. She's like, I have woken up for the last 4 days. This was after about 2 weeks. She was taking it 5 days instead of 3 days. And it was so after almost a full 2 weeks. She's like, I have no pain. I have no pain. She's like, I went to the gym yesterday and I worked out, and I did my workout that always used to just lay me out, and I have no pain. And she's like, I can't believe this. And she's like, I mean, praise Jesus. Like, she was like in her space where she was just so happy. And her husband had just had to have hip replacement surgery during the holidays. He was on PPC 157, TV 500. They cycle it now between them. And it's amazing. It's amazing. But again, I mean, like, this is what you don't know until you know. And then once you know, you can't keep it to yourself. You have to share.
No. I actually find myself so often like it's someone will start telling me something and I have to be like, don't say it. Don't say it, Kim. Don't tell them about the peptides because I feel like that's so typical of a person who sells something. But I'm like, but for real, my dad got into a bike accident almost a year ago, and he literally was, I mean, nothing helped. And he lives in Canada, so he has the worst healthcare ever. And he couldn't get seen, and no one would do anything for him. And so I bought BPC under my husband because they're similar size. And I like put in so my husband's on all these blood pressure medicines because that's what my dad is. And I sent it to him for Christmas. And he's like, anyway, he's like, the pain in my chest is gone.
Mhm.
I actually can like sleep, like because he fell and he hit like really hard, like right here on the handlebars, and he just couldn't get better, and it felt so heavy. And he would do it. They did nothing for him. They were like, "You're going to need steroids. We'll just shoot you up with this, this, and this." And it's like you're not even helping anything. But like it's funny because it's like you want to say it will heal anything and it'll do anything, but really I think that when you figure out your perfect thing, and sometimes it does take time. Sometimes people do start things and it's not perfect for them, and they're like, I don't feel great. And it's like, okay, well, let's maybe get to the bottom of it. Maybe you need glutathione because you're not detoxing enough to allow everything to be in. So let's get to the bottom of that. And but just lastly, before I didn't want to keep you more than an hour, and I think we're right there. So, just a little sneak peek because we're about to head into where we are now Ellie will offer blood
Testing.
blood testing, so blood panels. So I just went through the process of getting all my 40-year-old blood panels taken, and it cost me like $600. I had to go to Timbuktu and back. I had to find a doctor. Like the whole thing was just obscene, just so I could figure out if where I was at. And I don't live in a super like, I don't want to say affluent area. I live in South Carolina, and I feel like we're not really hip on the things. Like maybe in LA, you'd make it a little bit easier. Even in North Carolina, it would be all right. But South Carolina, we're a little slow on the upkeep. But I say that to say, we will be able to. So the same way you can get a GLP-1, the same way you can get a Testmorelin or BPC-1, you'll go in and you'll request blood. They'll send you for your blood results. And then let's say you are low in estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, we will then be able to prescribe that, and it will come right to your door, and you won't have to do anything other than that. So, yes, it will be the game changer. And I do think it will be bigger than GLP-1s because when women start actually knowing what's going on in their bodies, we're going to see that, like, oh, I don't have a libido. Oh, my energy is crashing. It's because you have literally no testosterone in your body. So we're just on the brink, and we're glad you're here, and we're glad you're listening. And if you have any questions for us, you can reach out to us individually, but we're an open book over here, and we're glad that you joined us. And
yeah, thank you for your guys' time tonight.
Yes. Okay.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next time.
Next
Have a
time.
good night.
Okay, good night, everyone. Bye.
Bye.